I'm Grant Fluff from Floodsters Sports Zone, and welcome back to another YouTube video, Season 1, Episode 17 of Floodsters Sports Zone. We had the quote-unquote off-season trade deadline for the NHL yesterday. Oh boy, was there a lot of trades. We'll be reviewing it on Power Skate Show tomorrow as well, but let me just give my quick little opinions tonight, or this afternoon rather. And we'll go into it. Of course, we'll review the weekly topics as usual. And those video files can come in handy later on. You'll see what I mean. Of course, before we get into the news, go follow Floodsters Sports Zone on Instagram. Like the intro says, it does not lie. Daily sports news. We're recapping everything. Well, presumably everything, like we usually do every Sunday. So we are going to begin with the MLB draft, which occurred last Sunday night. Now, I am kind of confused, of course, as a Red Sox fan. Now that Marco Meyer is going to be terrible. In fact, I think he's going to be great. But the issue with this is that he is a shortstop, and Boston doesn't need a shortstop. Alexander Bogaerts is coming fresh off an All-Star game performance. I don't know why the Red Sox didn't target pitching, especially in the first couple rounds of the draft, and they just went after a shortstop, which, don't get me wrong, he'll be good, but how good is he going to be? I'm not entirely sure. Of course, the Pittsburgh Pirates selected catcher Henry Davis first overall out of Louisville. I think he's going to be decent, but let's be realistic. The Pirates, there's a potential chance the Pirates will ruin him. As much as I hate to say it, I kind of can't really sugarcoat it. And then lastly, just a big congratulations to my man, Sal Frerick, from Boston College, getting drafted by Milwaukee, 15th overall, the outfielder. The kid's got a bright future. I love seeing Frelick in Boston College. The guy was easily the best baseball player in the BC program. I can't wait to see what he does in the future. And now we move on to a head-scratching move. Now, listen, I'm not here to necessarily – I don't know what to put in this. So, Duncan Keith traded from the Blackhawks to the Oilers for defenseman Caleb Jones, a prospect, Tim Sutherland, and a 2021 third-round pick. Why did the Blackhawks make this, or rather, why the Oilers make this trade? It makes sense why the Blackhawks made this trade. They want to get younger. They realize that they're in their rebuilding stage. They're like, all right, Duncan Keith, we appreciate what you've done here. We love the memories. Thank you. But listen, we got built for the future. I hope you can understand why we traded you. And he's probably just like, okay, I understand. But if I'm Caleb Jones, I'm thinking you just traded me away for a 8-year-old defenseman. It was Duncan Keith's birthday earlier this week. Excuse me, man. So you're trading away a 23-year-old defenseman for a 38-year-old defenseman. I think Edmonton completely botched this trade. A third-round pick for Duncan Keith, even now, is too much. But the fact they just threw in Caleb Jones and a prospect, it's like, what is this trade? It makes absolutely no sense. Peter Chiarelli, I thought you were past this, man. I guess you aren't, but oh my God. I mean, this is right up there with the Milan Lucic contract of bad. You do not acquire a 38-year-old Duncan Keith. The only way I could see this trade go through is if you trade away Tim Sutherland, the prospect, and like maybe a fifth, maybe, for Caleb Jones and a third alone. I mean, I would have acquired Duncan Keith for that much when he was 33. Never mind 38. It was an awful trade, for Edmonton. Steal for Chicago. All right, this is interesting. My favorite NBA player, this pains me. Oh, my goodness. Don't leave Portland, Dame. I love you. But the Warriors have began trade talks with the Trailblazers, revolving around All-Star point guard Damian Lillard. Nothing is even close to a deal. This is just a rumor. The Warriors just like, okay, we're going to start engaging in trade talks. I'm going to tell you this right now. There is no possible way the Warriors actually acquire Damian Lillard. They're going to have to trade away Klay Thompson or Draymond Green to do so. I don't think Golden State's keen on doing that. So I'm going to say right now that wherever Lillard lands, it's not going to be with the Warriors. Personally, I think he's going to honestly stay in Portland next year. I am one who doesn't believe in rumors until it seems legit. If I had to pick, I'll just say right now my 3 teams I could see Damian Lillard going to. 1, Philadelphia 76ers. And it's going to drive me bonkers if the Trailblazers actually trade Lillard for Ben Simmons. That is going to irate me, but I could see that occurring. 2, second-ranked spot, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have the salary cap. They have the young team to do it. Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards Jr., they're going to need someone to pair up with them. If they acquire Lillard, then Minnesota is immediately in the playoff race. Already a borderline playoff team, but just getting that will be on top of it. It would just be spectacular. And my 3rd and final team, which may come to a surprise to a lot of you, but honestly, the Toronto Raptors. I think they're going to have to get Zach Pascal or Zakeem in return. Maybe Kyle Lowry, although Lowry's 35, so I don't really know if he's good for Portland in short term or long term. I just got to be real with you, though. Like, those are just my 3 Lillard destinations so far, but I think Lillard's staying. If anyone's going to go, I think it's going to be McCollum, if you want my personal opinion. Moving on to the Predators. And this is sad, man. Pekka Rinne announces his retirement after 15 seasons. His regular season record, 369 wins and 60 shutouts. During the playoffs, Rinne, of course, made the Stanley Cup Finals. He had a 45-44 record in the playoffs with 5 shutouts. The greatest Nashville Predator goalie of all time. Probably the best athlete ever in that Nashville area. Like, of course, not counting college. But, Pekka Rinne has meant more to the Predators than I think any other athlete has met in that Tennessee area. Like, I get it. Oh, you're going to say Bruce Matthews for the Titans. And I'm like, okay, yes, but come on. The majority of Bruce Matthews' career was with the Oilers. I'm sorry, but I got to give Pekka Rinne, like, the best Tennessee/Nashville athlete pretty much ever in recent memory. Derrick Henry may come to that someday. I don't know. But, you got to give credit where credit's due, man. Pekka Rinne, if I'll tell you one thing. Pekka Rinne would have won a Stanley Cup. If your name tree didn't say anything, he would have won the cup. That's right. I'm throwing your name tree under the bus. Pekka Rinne will forever be too good right now. I know. Ha, 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 funny. But listen, Rinne is such a sensational goalie. And honestly, I wish Nashville traded him. I wish Nashville traded him to a contender after the 2019 season. Once Nashville knew, okay, we're not going to make the playoffs. We have Saros. We're going to be playing him over Pekka Rinne for the most part. And that's where I wish Rinne went elsewhere. And I mean to a contender. I'm not talking about like, oh, he gets traded like the Red Wings or whatever where he clearly be the starter. No. I'm talking about contender. Like, as a Bruins fan, I would have loved Pekka Rinne to join the Bruins. Have Rinne and Rask. You have the 2 Finland goalies. Like, I mean, I would have done that back in 2019. I would have traded, like, Halak and a 4th for Rinne. Like, I don't know why the Bruins didn't do that, especially after Yaroslav Halak this year. Goodness gracious. But, I just wish Pekka Rinne, the best of luck in his retirement, 100% making the Hall of Fame. And yeah, he's probably the best Nashville player ever. So on to more news and more heartbreak for long-time fans. The Wild have officially bought out left winger Zach Parise and defenseman Ryan Suter. Both players have 4 years left with $7.5 million average remaining. Now remember, They got those two in pairs. Always remember, when they signed those two, they signed those two. Now, this is just Zach Parise highlights. I didn't really have time to find Ryan Suter highlights. Oh, my goodness. No, never mind. This is the – oops. Wrong one. That's for later on in the show. Hold on. Where's the Zach Parise one? This is the Zach Parise one. Good. Okay. But, yeah. Listen, I got to be real with you, though. Parise, I think he's going to sign with the Islanders. I know that looks a little bleak now after they acquire Richard Panik, but listen, the Islanders are going to need a fourth line. And I'm sorry, but Matt Martin is just not the fourth liner they should really be going after full term. Now, they signed Matt Martin to that bloated contract last offseason, so they kind of stuck with that. But listen, you could buy out Matt Martin, or hopefully the Kraken take him in the expansion draft. You should continue to target your bottom six. If I'm the Islanders, I'm continuing to get a greedy, grindy bottom six. And Zach Parise fits that role, for sure. A lot of people are saying he's going to the Islanders. I'm certainly taking the bait for that. My one issue is with Ryan Suter. Where's Suter going to sign? Now, I'm looking at weak defensive cores right now. I'm thinking off the top of my head, San Jose or Vancouver could potentially be two landing options. But I look at those two teams, I'm like, yeah, but they have defensemen in the AHL. They don't need Ryan Suter. I mean, sure, he's good for veteran presence, but teams like the Sharks or the Canucks, they don't need Ryan Suter. And, of course, after the previous Nashville trade that occurred yesterday, which we'll get to in a little bit, revolving around Ryan Ellis, maybe Suter returns to Nashville on a one-year deal. I know Calgary's been another floating option for Suter. As a Bruin or King fan, I don't want Suter going to either of those teams. The Bruins, we just don't have room for Ryan Suter. And for the Kings, they could fit in room, but why? They're not a team much like the Sharks and the Canucks. They have defensemen in the AHL, so there's no need to bring in Ryan Suter. And then it comes down to, okay, a playoff team should sign Ryan Suter. And I 100% agree. And I think it comes down to a team that's a borderline playoff team, borderline not. And this is where I see, and this could certainly be a not popular prediction, this is where I see the New York Rangers coming into play. I think they signed Suter to a one-year deal worth, I would imagine, no more than $5 million. And they're just going to roll with Ryan Suter on that third line defensive pairing. Hope he gets about 15 points in an 82-game season and, take it from there. But me personally, I definitely waffled about where Suter should land and where he shouldn't. But for right now, I got to go with the Rangers. And I think that makes the most sense because Brendan Smith, his contract is expiring, and he's also, eligible to be claimed by the Kraken. And really, the Rangers don't need him. And really, the Rangers, they are really struggling defensively. And I think they can really use anybody defensively. I would have said if the Bruins didn't re-sign Brandon Carlo, which again we'll get to, but if the Bruins didn't re-sign Brandon Carlo, I think the Rangers would have personally gone after Carlo. But ultimately, Bruins re-signed him to a 6-year deal, which I think we're going to get to pretty much right now. But yeah, it was overall, a good sign for the Bruins. We'll get to that when we get to that. Yeah, but for the Rangers, they should sign Ryan Suter. I don't see why they shouldn't. And then again, for Zach Parise, I got to go with Minnesota, just because, or rather, the Islanders, because a lot of people are predicting him to go there. He seems like a player who would go to the Islanders. I'll put it to you this way. If Parise doesn't go to the Islanders, he's going to the Senators. Moving on to the Canadiens, officially hiring Dominique Ducharme as a full-time head coach, a 3-year deal after the Cinderella Cup run. And oh my goodness, this is great. And this is a this is a breath of fresh air for Montreal. I know you were getting tired of Claude Julien's coaching. Now you feel how us Bruins fans feel. And honestly, it is what it is. But just be happy the Claude Julien era is over. You have your coach. And listen, I know I've been very skeptical of Montreal next season. I was talking about it last week. I'm like, listen, I don't know if Montreal can necessarily make the playoffs in a division with Tampa Bay, Boston, Toronto, and Florida. But I will tell you this right now. If everything goes to plan and they don't lose Carey Price this offseason, I got to be real with you. I think the Canadiens could edge out the Panthers for the 4th place in the Atlantic. More fitting as a wild card team, although I do think both wild card spots will go to a team in the Metropolitan. Who knows? But yeah, Montreal, be happy. All right, this guy earned it. Come from no offense, but really a no-name assistant to pull a miracle Cinderella playoff run, and you definitely earned that contract. Now, I don't know the amount. I would imagine it's probably somewhere around 20 mil, give or take a little more or less. But regardless, it's a good signing for Montreal. On to baseball news. This makes me happy because it's been 2-3 times during the show. I'm like, I get so fed up with the 7-inning no-hitters. That is my main concern. That bugs me crazy about the 7-inning games. I hate that when a starting pitcher completes a game without allowing a hit, it is a no-hitter. I don't care if it's 2 games, 7 games, 9 innings, or rather innings. I don't care if it's 2 innings, 7 innings, 9 innings. Well, okay, maybe rain delays don't count. I will say that. I'll take that back. Rain delays and other circumstances don't count. But in a 7-inning game, it counts. And thank God they're getting rid of these 7-inning doubleheaders. So now we don't have to deal with any of that bogus anymore. If it's a no-hitter, it's a no-hitter. No one's going to complain. The other thing they're getting rid of course, is starting, having a man start on second base to begin the extra innings. This is a gimmick. And I hate that. You have to earn your wins. I get what the MLB is doing. Trying to quick the game up, make it quick, pick up the pace. I understand. But starting a guy on second base, it becomes the MLB version of a shootout. Whoever can hit a double will take the lead. Or if you're in the bottom of an inning, will win the game. It's like, baseball games shouldn't be determined like that. That's all I have to say about the runner on second base rule. But quickly back to the 7-inning doubleheaders. I have to be honest, though, I love the doubleheader 7-inning games because that makes sense. Again, the one thing that was driving me nuts about the 7-inning doubleheaders was the no-hitters were driving me insane. But other than the no-hitters, I love that. That is how you properly quick a game up and speed up a season. That is how you properly do it. I know some people are going to disagree with me on that. I'm cool with the 7-inning doubleheaders. Just count no-hitters. If they're ever coming back to this, count the no-hitters, please. Moving on to the American League, defeating the National League 5-2 in the All-Star game, which yours truly commentated. It was a fun time. Got to see 3 of my Red Sox, which was nice. Of course, Pete Alonso won the home run derby the night before. Overall, it was just a fun time commentating. The first MLB All-Star game I've ever broadcasted. It was a lot of fun. Of course, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. won the MVP, which was awesome. Of course, nice to see Shohei Ohtani. You see right there. He was on the mound. He was also the leadoff batter for the AL. He didn't do much. He did his job pitching-wise. I think he went 0 for 2 hitting. But regardless, Ohtani did his job, and he did well in the All-Star game. And he still leads the league in home runs, so we'll see what Ohtani can do moving forward. Next up, NBA 2K22 cover reveal with Luka Doncic on the cover. The player makes sense. All right, I can complain about Luka being on the cover because, well, this year it was Damian Lillard, so that at least satisfied me. Of course, if it's not a Trailblazer, I want to be a Celtic. I'm still waiting for when my boy Jason Tatum can be on the cover, but that'll be in due time. 2K doesn't need to rush that. But I would love to see Jason Tatum on the cover, of course. But for right now, it's Luka. And honestly, I'm pretty sure Luka's top 3 in best-selling jerseys right now. So it makes sense. They're taking advantage of the hype. I think this is the true year Dallas can take liftoff, advance past the first round, all that good jazz. Me personally, I wouldn't have hired Jason Kidd as my coach, but I still think the talent's there. Maybe you can remove Porzingis to, get rid of some of that drama going around the team right now. Focus on winning games. I think the Mavericks can easily win 45 games next year. And we'll see. We'll take it from there. But congrats to Luka being on the cover. The cover itself is all right. I do like the painting in the background. Look at the regular picture of Luka taking a jump, off the foot shot, but I don't know. The cover, it's not crazy good, but it's not awful. It's better than the Madden cover. I'll say for sure. Okay, this whole situation is confusing about Richard Sherman. So it was reported 4 days ago that he was arrested for burglary and domestic violence in Seattle, and he actually denied bail. Now I'm going to fast forward 2 days later. Where is it here? We're going to fast forward 2 days later. Then it was announced Sherman's been released from prison with no bail, no felony charges, and, of course, after the recent assault battery cases. I don't know if any of you have seen the video of Sherman trying to break into his wife's grandfather's house, but some scary stuff, man. I was legit petrified watching those. The fact that Sherman just kept on body checking the door, trying to break in, it's just terrifying. And after all these videos come out, and the 911 call comes out when Sherman's wife is calling, she's like, listen, I'm freaking out. It's Richard Sherman. That's his name. That's my husband. He's trying to break in. He's trying to start stuff with my family. And then just to see him dismiss the case 2 days later, it's kind of ridiculous. And listen, I'm not going to be like, oh, NFL players are going to get it easier than other people. And I get that. But it's like, dude, all the evidence was there that this should be an ongoing case for months. And to my knowledge, is that Sherman was on either some type of drug or medication. And to my knowledge, whether Sherman stays a free agent or not, suspend him for at least the first 4 games of the season. And I'm being dead serious about the NFL too. You suspending Josh Gordon a year for smoking weed. You're suspending Tom Brady 4 games for deflating balls, which, let's be real, I don't even think Tom Brady did. I think he's innocent. He didn't do Deflategate. No, the NFL was just trying to cover up their concussion numbers. It's like, man, if Sherman doesn't get suspended at least 4 or 5 games, that'll be a topic for before the NFL season starts. And oh my goodness, I will not be a happy camper, to say the least. Not at all. That would be an embarrassment to the NFL if Sherman doesn't serve at least some sort of suspension. All right, I'm in the really talkative mood today, so I'll kind of pick up sort of some of the topics. Not through this topic, though. Brandon Carlo re-signed with the Bruins on a 6-year, $24.6 million deal. Brandon Carlo. Listen, I love this contract. You're gonna pay a guy for the next 6 years, and you're not even going over $25 million. That is outstanding. That is great. If you can sign a guy for over 5 years and you don't have to break the 25, $30 million mark, you're doing something right. Listen, this is my only concern about Carlo. He's a good offensive defenseman. I know he only had 4 points last year, but he really started to play better in the playoffs before his injury in Game 4 against the Islanders. Here's my issue with Brandon Carlo, the injuries. And this guy's already suffered about 3 or 4 concussions. This guy's been in the NHL for 5 years and he's only played just over 300 games. He had an 82-game season once, and that was his rookie year back in 16-17. The rest of them, he had 67, and they get significantly lower. In 16-17, he played 82 games. 17-18, 76. 18-19, 72. 19-20, 67. And then this past year, 27 on top of a shortened season. You include the playoffs, like 35 for this year. And, again, it's not that it's an awful contract. Because really, if you can pay a guy for 6 years and you don't have to go over $25 million, that's great. But, again, Carlo is such a wild card because if he can develop properly and can average about 30 points a season like our expectations were back in the 2015 draft, well then okay, this is a bargain. This is a bargain. But if he continues to get injured, you may want to buy him out after, 3 or 4 years, and it's going to become a mess if he continues getting hurt. And I would hate if Brandon Carlo would get bought out a few years down the road, but if he continues to get injured, there's no reason to have him around. And that's why I felt the Bruins give him an 8-year deal, but me personally, I would have given him a 2-year deal first. He's 24. You give him the 8-year deal when he's 26. Me personally, I would have given Carlo right here 2 years, $6.5 million. Someone maybe would have upped that in free agency, but regardless, at least that's the contract I would have offered first. If he stays healthy those 2 years, then give him the 6 or 8-year contract. I feel like they just gave him the 6-year contract a little too early. But, again, if it's under $25 million, you're not really breaking the bank that badly. The Penguins re-signed center Teddy Bolger to a 2-year, $4.4 million deal. This is a good signing. He's going to be on Pittsburgh's third line for the most part. I'm not going to go fully in depth there. Same thing with the Angels signing outfielder Adam Eaton. I think this is another pretty good signing. Of course, he was DFA'd by the White Sox last week. And, I think he'll do well with the Angels. He signed a deal there, so he's going to be there for the rest of the season. Adam Eaton, he's a veteran. Of course, he really hasn't done much since he left the Nationals a couple years ago. He's still 32. Of course, he's chasing the 1,000 career hit club as he's currently at 939. But so far with the Angels in 2 games, he has 4 at-bats. He actually has 2 hits, 1 being a double, and he ended up scoring a run. In 2 games and with a new system, it's really not that bad. So good job for Adam Eaton. He's starting to turn around after a sluggish beginning of the season with Chicago. All right, the Canadiens defenseman Shea Weber could miss the entire 2021-22 season after breaking his thumb and playing through that thumb injury throughout the playoffs. And now Montreal didn't protect him for the Seattle expansion draft coming up. So now, of course, this means Shea Weber could be selected by the Kraken. But there are other options I think Seattle should go after. And I know Shea Weber's a big name, but I don't know if Seattle wants to take on that contract, especially when they can get guys like Yanni Gourde or Jacob Voracek, or Tuukka Rask even. I just don't know why, Seattle will really go after Weber. I personally think they could go after Jake Allen if they want a backup goalie. Or if not, I could see them going after Phil Deneau will be a free agent, so maybe Deneau. I think Jake Evans would make sense for the 3rd or 4th line. Corey Perry would make sense for the 3rd or 4th line as a good veteran. And we'll see what happens with Weber. The Pelicans are going to officially hire Suns assistant coach Willie Green at the end of the NBA Finals. And, he's done a good job with the Suns so far. The Suns are obviously impressive, just 2 wins away from the NBA Finals, although, of course, the series could end tomorrow if Milwaukee wins. But regardless, it's a great season for the Suns. Their first Finals appearance since 94, 3. And, I mean, it makes sense for the Pelicans. While they're still young, they fired Van Gundy after 1 year, so it makes sense why they're going after one of the better assistant coaches in the NBA. All right, the Panthers buy out defenseman Keith Yandle with 2 years left on a $6.35 million average a season contract. All right. Boston native, dreamed about playing for the Bruins. The Bruins will need help defensively. And personally, I would rather the Bruins go after Keith Yandle than Ryan Suter. But that's a different story for a different day. I want to focus on Yandle, though. The fact that the Panthers made this man a healthy scratch repeatedly last year is incredible. And it's truly embarrassing. You know, Arizona made this guy their best defenseman in franchise history. And then, okay, wanted too much money. All right, we'll trade you to the Rangers. Plays 1 year on the Rangers, plays okay. Actually gets 47 points. Then he goes to the Panthers. He's been on the Panthers for the last 5 years. And I just want to let you know, this man had 27 points in 56 games. 24 assists, which is the main number that stands out. And he's going to be 35 of the time next season starts. You're going to tell me a team is not going to want to sign this guy to a 1 or 2 year deal, pretty much any contract under 3 years. The teams are going to want to sign Keith Yandle. I know, again, he's 34 and he is bound to slow down eventually, but again, that's why he only signed him to a year or 2 for no more than like $8-9 million. A lot of teams are going to be buying at the bits to sign Keith Yandle, and this guy has a lot of talent left in him. At least I feel. I don't think Yandle's going to slow down until he's 37, 38. And by the time, Yandle seems like that player who seems like once he knows he's going to start to slow down production-wise, he's going to retire. But I got to be honest, though. Panthers should have not made this man a healthy scratch multiple times last season. And the fact that, again, he managed to score 27 points in a shortened season, props to Keith Yandle. We'll see who signs him, but yeah. Oh, this is probably why, though, because the Panthers had to re-sign their defenseman Gustav Forsling to a 3-year, $7.98 million deal. Now, okay, this is an all right contract. Forsling isn't anything awful. I mean, Yandle's the better player, but again, Forsling's like, what? like 8-9 years younger. So it obviously makes sense why Florida's going for the younger player than the older player. But again, when the older player is better statistically, I don't know what to tell you. It's not an awful contract. It's just not one I would make. The Panthers, well, again, I mean, they're just trying to keep the core around, apparently. He re-signed left winger Anthony Duclair to a 3-year, $9 million deal. Now, this isn't an awful contract. And if you are getting your main second line left winger for $9 million, you're doing a good job. And Bill Zito has done a good job since joining the Panthers franchise, but this is where I start to question a little bit. Florida knows that their playoff window is right now and it's going to expire in like 2024, 2025. They know right now they have the core to at least make the playoffs. To win the Cup, who knows, but at least to make the playoffs in a regular Atlantic division, the Panthers have that team right now. I gotta be real with you, though. I'm afraid they're going to overpay the core to stick around, and they're not going to win anything. And that's like, well, great. Now we're losing a lot of money in salary. Excuse me. You're going to have to, replace Huberdeau, Barkov, Dadonov eventually. It's like, because you signed Bobrovsky for that contract, and shouldn't have done it. That's all I'm going to say. That was the worst thing you could have done with signing Bobrovsky to that contract, because now you're stuck overpaying the coin. You keep on thinking Bobrovsky's the answer. Bobrovsky's the answer. You already just gave Chris Driedger up to Seattle. They didn't re-sign Chris Driedger, who had a much better season than Bobrovsky. And on top of that, you have Sam Knight. You have Spencer Knight. There's no need to keep Bobrovsky. Because you're a legit starting goalie by 2023. Ridiculous. Devils sign center Michael McLeod to a 2-year, $1.95 million deal. Guy was on the 2018 World Juniors team, so that's cool. Random fact. But yeah, he's been okay with the Devils this year. Yeah, good signing. The Panthers re-sign right tackle Taylor Moore to a 4-year deal worth $72 million with $43 million guaranteed. Of course, Morton was going to play under the franchise tag this season. In fact, he was the only player who got extended long-term from the franchise this year. So like Chris Godwin, Cam Robinson, I'm trying to think of other players off the top of my head. Leonard Williams, I know, was one of them. Those are the ones coming to my head right now. But this is the only deal that was really done. And I got to be honest with you, Panthers, it's a little bit of an overpayment, but I get it. Good linemen don't come off a tree, so I respect it. I just find it weird how now they got the whole contract scenario done after the draft, which is obviously smart, but I feel like the main reason why they did this because they are really banking on Sam Darnold to be their future QB, and I respect that. You know, they knew Teddy Bridgewater was a year two stopgap option. We're going to trade for our quarterback in the future, draft a quarterback in the future, and we're going to build off of that. Sam Darnold could be the future for the Panthers. He could just be another stopgap. You know, he'll be here for 3-4 years, and they'll release him or cut him or whatever, or trade him. And then, they'll have to go up to someone else. But I will say, at least it looks like the Panthers are going to keep Darnold for at least 2 to 3 years, so it makes sense why they gave him the 4-year deal. All right, the Avalanche traded defenseman Ryan Graves to the Devils for forward Mikhaila Mazev and a 2021 second-round pick. Samuel Girardi, listen, I know his advanced statistics show that Graves isn't the best player in the world, and really he's not. I think he's always been good. It's just he's been overshadowed by better Avalanche players. And now he's on New Jersey. He's pretty much going to be the best defenseman there. I mean, yeah, Ryan Murray's good, and we obviously, PK Subban's not great anymore. But, he had 15 points in 54 games last year. He had a plus-minus of 40 in 1920. I mean, this guy is a good defenseman, and I get he's not going to rack up the most points in the world. But, again, that's because he's on Colorado. Now that he's going to essentially be getting top 2 line minutes in New Jersey, at least next season, it makes sense. This contract makes sense. All right, on to the Cubs trading center fielder Jock Pearson to the Braves for minor league first baseman Bryce Bell. Now, listen, Jock Pearson, and this is going to be the last time I share a video file for today, by the way, but listen, I like Jock Pearson a lot. But I got to be real here. The Cubs have officially chosen to buy. They are done. They are absolutely done trying to contend. They had their 2016 World Series ring, and now they're going to blow the core up. And don't worry, I'm assuming I'll be talking about a Chris Bryant trade in the upcoming months as well, maybe an Anthony Rizzo trade as well. He already has hit a home run with the Braves in just his second game. And with the Cubs this year, he was good. He's a reliable veteran, Jock Pearson. But he still wasn't getting the job done in Chicago, though. I mean, 59 hits, 11 going for doubles. He got 11 home runs, 39 RBIs. His batting average, I want to say, was 230. Yeah, it was 230. Wasn't awful with the Cubs by any means, but he still wasn't outstanding. I mean, again, they got him last year, so it's not like they really gave him much of a chance. They gave him half a season. He was playing just about as good as you'd expect. Now, of course, they traded him. Now, for Bryce Bell, I'm not the biggest, minor league baseball fan in the world. So when a lot of players get like DFA and they're like minor leaguers and stuff, I've really never heard of them. Now I'm going to be honest with you. Bryce Bell, I didn't know he existed until this Wednesday. But I was reading an article back in 2019. Actually, I can pull it up right now. Actually, pull that article up right now. And this obviously didn't end up being true, but it was very intriguing nonetheless to read. And again, it just shows how crazy a 2-year difference is. So let me just go pull up the article I was reading a couple of days ago when I was trying to research about this guy. Oh my goodness, was this an advertisement? Get out of here. There it is. Bryce Bell has the chance to become Braves' next big hitting prospect. At freezing cold takes for this one, huh? But it was basically saying how, the Braves farm system was decent. And to be completely honest with you, they were starting to compare him to Freddie Freeman. And I was blown away. They were trying to hype this guy up to be like Freddie Freeman 2.0 or like Marcelo Zuna 2.0. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, obviously that article fell flat on its face. Of course, that was only back in 2019, so he could still be a decent prospect. Like, I'm not saying like he could be the Cubs' first baseman like by 2023 maybe, but to my knowledge, he spent the few years in the minors, and yeah, he's had a lot of hype, but he really hasn't done a whole lot. Now we get to the Friday news. Tigers DFA'd right fielder Nomar Mazara after 35 hits and 300 runs in 50 games. The Tigers are just bad. He was actually one of the Tigers' better players, but it is what it is. Saints defensive end David Wanyamata, again better, pronounce his name, we suspended 6 games for PEDs, and that sucks for the Saints defensive line. Yes, they have Cameron Jordan, so they're going to be okay, but Mara's one of the more underrated players in the entire league. Like, this guy consistently rushes the passer. He's half the reason why Cameron Jordan gets all his sacks, because he's to the left of Jordan, and he performs well, and he gets a lot of QB pressures. See right there, he's ready to sack Dak Prescott. Like, he's a good player. It just sucks he's getting suspended. I hope he wasn't on PEDs this entire time, because then, well, take back up on nice words you just said about him. National second baseman Stylen Castro will be placed on administrative leave after an alleged domestic violence incident earlier in the summer that I did not hear about till Friday afternoon. But this is awful for the MLB. You had the whole Trevor Bauer incident last month, and now you have the Stylen Castro this month, and it's a revolving door of what is going on with athletes nowadays. You had the whole Richard Sherman incident. You had the whole 2010 Blackhawks team incident. What is going on in sports, and why are athletes starting to become such careless and mindless goofballs who just do this crap? Like, domestic violence incident. Guarantee we hit a woman. Not entirely sure, but I guarantee he hit a woman. And it's ridiculous. He did ban him from the league. I don't care. All right. NBA and the NBA Player Association agreed for a playing tournament in the 2021-22 playoffs. I have to vent. Breathe in, exhale. This is stupid. Can we please get rid of these tournaments? This is just driving me crazy. Why are you having playing tournaments? It's simple. The top 8 teams from each conference make the playoffs. We should be having a 12 seed win out and then become the 8th seed and make it. That's stupid. The only way you should have playing tournaments is if they're tied, like what baseball does. Bogus, dude. Stop throwing these extra teams into the playoffs. It's not good. I hate that. All right. San Francisco Giants infielder Drew Robinson retires at the age of 29 to join the Giants front office. Now, of course, if you don't know about this guy, he injured his eye in a suicide attempt last year. And the fact that he was able to come back and play minor league baseball is truly incredible. And He was in the Giants farm system. He actually hit a home run earlier in the year. Of course, that was like the clip of the Sports Week a few weeks ago, I believe, when he hit a home run, or it might have been last month. But this guy hit a home run. Like one of the first games back from his eye injury. Again, after he was attempting to commit suicide. That's insane. And, round of applause for Drew Robinson. This is such a great inspiration in sports. Like, I would make a sports documentary off this guy. Yeah, he may not have been the best player in the league or anything, but you look at a guy who potentially was going to commit suicide, injured his eye, lived, returned to baseball a year later, hits a home run, and is now retiring, but is willing to work with the team who drafted him in his front office. Incredible story. My best of luck to Drew Robinson on his retirement. 29 is young to retire, but man, if he can stick with that front office job, I'll tip my cap to him. NFL wide receiver Ted Ginn Jr. retired at age 36. Listen, he was good. He was not great. He was good. He played in the Bears for a little bit last year, but come on. I felt like I mainly remember Ted Ginn being drafted by the Dolphins. And I also remember him on the Saints and the Panthers, pretty much. I forgot he was on the 49ers. I forgot he was on the Cardinals. But I mainly remember him on the Dolphins, Panthers, and Saints. And the fact that this guy was around for, 14 years, I was like, woof. Been around a long time, and he has been. And one of the quickest wide receivers in recent memory. He's a very good kick, and, he's very good just special teamer, really. And, yeah, happy retirement to him. Sure he'll do well in his future. Wizards hire Nuggets assistant coach Wes Unseld Jr. as their new head coach. Wizards, we knew they fired Scott Brooks. Brooks joined the Trailblazers. Nuggets, of course, out of the playoffs, so makes sense why the Wizards made this signing. The Islanders trade defenseman Nick Leddy to the Red Wings for right winger Richard Panik in a 2021 second-round pick. The Red Wings won this trade. Listen, I know the Islanders could use Panik, and I know the second-round pick may hurt if it ends up being a good player, but I say for right now, the Islanders won. I think in the long term, depending on who that second-round pick ends up being, yes, the Islanders can win this trade, but for right now, I'll say Nick Leddy. I don't know. People are saying that wasn't a good trade on the Red Wings' behalf. I'm like, dude, they're going to have Panik's contract. And you're going to have to ship off a second-round pick to move a contract like Panik. That's why it makes sense. And then, like, Nick Leddy, he's going to be, first, second-line defensive pairing for the Red Wings? He'll be fine. On to yesterday's news now. The Stars re-signed Miro Heiskanen to a 8-year, $67.6 million cap hit. Oh, my God. We had a nuke drop. And I got to tell you one thing. Well-deserved contract. Mainly these highlights are from his playoffs back in 2020. But, yeah. This guy is a great young defenseman. And it makes sense why they signed to 8 years. Now, listen. He is still in his mid-20s, which is great. Well, he's still actually 22. Never mind. He's still 22, which makes sense why the Stars re-signed him. He had 27 points in 55 games, 95 points in 205 games. Listen, you were registering 95 points in your first 3 years in the league. Just good job. Today's his birthday. Oh, my goodness. You learn something new every day. Happy now 22nd birthday to Miro Heiskanen. He was 21. 19 to 21 years old, he was doing this incredibly. And, he definitely earned this contract. Again, 95 points in your first 3 seasons. A job well done. Now, this trade doesn't really make sense for me. I mean, the Islanders get rid of a bad contract. The Coyotes, I don't know what they're doing. The Islanders trade away left winger Andrew Ladd, a 2021 second-round pick, 2022 conditional, and 2020 conditional, 2022 second-rounder, and a conditional 2023 third. Islanders get a bad contract. The Coyotes are bringing a bad contract in. Again, conditional picks matter there. All right. This was a nuke drop. 3-team trade between the Predators, Flyers, and Golden Knights. The Predators trade defenseman Ryan Ellis to the Flyers for defenseman Philip P. Myers and center Nolan Patrick. Then the Predators, 5 minutes later, traded Patrick to the Golden Knights for Cody Glass. In my opinion, Cody Glass has more potential, but for right now, Nolan Patrick's a better player. Vegas wins that trade. Moving on. Okay. Ryan Ellis for Philip P. Myers, essentially, and Cody Glass. I gotta give Philly the W here. I think the Flyers won this trade. Nashville gets a good defenseman and a good center, and the Knights also get a pretty good center. But listen, the Flyers need a defenseman in the worst way possible. We know the Flyers' forward core is good. Even their bottom six is very solid. Losing someone like Nolan Patrick, that ain't going to hurt, because now you can just call up Carl Brandstrom. Or you can just use Morgan Frost more actively. You are fine. If you're the Flyers, you're fine. You're fine. You had to build a defense around Carter Hart, and you're building a defense around Carter Hart, and that makes me happy, because I do indeed like Carter Hart. And my God, seeing his save percentage dip down last year is driving me insane. Bill P. Myers was good. He's a good offensive defenseman, but listen, you don't need him. Shane Gostisbehere, you either buy him out or you just hope that you just hope the Kraken take him in the expansion draft. Same thing with Justin Braun. You just try to trade away Justin Braun as well. You shouldn't have traded away Eric Gustafsson, in my personal opinion. They should have never did that. But I think the Flyers win the trade, and then Nashville getting Myers is again a good offensive defenseman. Cody Glass, again, the solid third-line center there. That's the Knights. They're just getting a third-line center. Nolan Patrick for Cody Glass. Even trade. But yeah, that was a good trade. Lightning undersell right winger. That's what I should have wrote. Lightning undersell right winger Barclay Goodrow to the Rangers. 2022 7th. Really? 7th for Goodrow. I thought the team was willing to pay up a 4th. I want him to go to the Bruins because that's not happening now. The Rangers were another team I had my eye on that he would go to. Good trade for the Rangers, and I can't say the same for the Lightning other than they're saving cap. The Penguins trade center Jared McCann to the Maple Leafs for prospect forward Philip Halder and 2022 7th-round pick. Again, unless I know Pittsburgh's just trying to shave off cap, which makes sense why they made this trade. But, yeah, this was not a good trade. The Maple Leafs clearly won 7th and a prospect who's a 74 overall in NHL 21. Yeah, McCann's better, and I don't know why I don't know why the Penguins did this trade. It was bad. The White Sox re-signed pitcher Lance Lynn to a 3-year, $38 million deal. $38 million for playing half a season. Yeah, that's quite a bit. But listen, Lance Lynn, he's earned this, all right. He was always consistent on the Rangers. He just never got the run support he needed. And now that he is finally on the White Sox, a decent team, he's playing well. He has a 9-3 record in 16 games. He has already pitched 90 innings. That's already more than he did last year. He's only allowed 63 hits, 20 earned run, and 105 strikeouts. That's not awful. And again, $38 million for 2 years, that's pretty – you're paying a top dollar. But, again, if he doesn't slow down, and the White Sox are presumably going to make the playoffs, it makes sense why you re-sign someone like Lance Lynn to such an extension. The Stars trade center Jason Dickerson to the Canucks for a 3rd-round pick. I mean, this makes sense. I mean, like I said, I thought Goodrow would go for a fourth. If Jason Dickerson's going for a third, then yeah, the Lightning could trade Goodrow. They could have waited and then traded Barclay Goodrow for a fourth. But that's neither here nor there. Dickerson's very good offensive player, strong defensively as well. He kind of reminds me of David Krejci a little bit, like a much younger David Krejci. So I like it. Good move by Vancouver. Jim Benning making a smart trade. What timeline are we in? I am so surprised. Jim Benning. Round of applause for Jim Benning for actually making a quality trade for once in his life. Round of applause everywhere. I don't know why I'm sharing off my screen. But yes, good job, Jim Benning. The Bucks take a 3-2 series lead. Yeah, I already talked about this. They won 123 to 119. I still say Suns in 7. I don't care. I still say Suns in 7. But yeah, the Bucks have won 3 straight, and this is the Giannis Antetokounmpo we all love to see. He is just becoming an absolute animal. And Chris Paul, Devin Booker, you guys are playing well. I don't know if you guys can get the job done. I won't believe my original prediction was Suns in 7, so I'll stick with it. I'll stick with my prediction, but it's looking like Bucks will win in 6. I ain't gonna lie. And then last night at midnight, it was announced by Aaron Boone that Yankees left fielder Tim LaCastro suffered a torn ACL, which means he's out for the rest of the season. And this sucks for the Yankees. They traded Chad Green to the Diamondbacks for LaCastro about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and the team tears ACL after like 15, 20 games. Sucks. That is awful news. And the last topic for today, the Red Sox left fielder Alex Verdugo. He had some complaints after a Yankees fan threw a baseball at him during last night's game. He said, quote unquote, as fans, y'all gotta be better. You don't throw blankety blank at people. You wouldn't do that to someone in the streets. Well, listen, it's New York. They would do it in the streets. I'm sorry to tell you, Alex Verdugo, but they would. New Yorkers come at me, not really. But yeah. I'll just quickly do one last little checkup. See if there's any other news I can ramble on about. I may have not posted yet, but I can still ramble on about. I know Jake DeGrom is back on the 10-day IL for the second time this season. That sucks. And it looks like I didn't make a post on this, but I guess I'll quickly talk about this to wrap up the final 2 minutes. Xavier Howard, it looks like he's going to be gone from Miami, and I can't believe he let one good season get to his head. And that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to, man. Xavier Howard is – someone's going to overpay for Howard. And I heard right now the Saints are the front runner. And let me just tell you right now, the Saints with a secondary with Howard and Marshawn Lattimore, with Malcolm Jenkins and JGG. Listen, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Best corners, just best secondary in the league. Because let's be real, the Saints are going to need a great defense to. I don't have faith in Jameis Winston. I don't think Winston's going to throw 30 interceptions again, but I could still see Winston throwing like 17, 18. But then again, he'll throw like 40 touchdowns. So it's like you can't get a gauge on the guy. I don't know. Maybe Taysom Hill will start. I doubt it, but we'll see. But, yeah, that's the weekly recap. Tomorrow, I guess I should rather say next week, not this week, but next week, I'm going to be off of YouTube entirely. I'm going to be spending some time in Lake George with my family, so no videos next week. There will be no Floodsters Sports Zone. Alex has full control of Power Skate next week. Yeah, is what is there. But next week, or the week after next week, we come back, we're going to have guests back on the show. And we're going to have some people from my school come on the show. You guys, if you guys were watching the Super Bowl pregame show back I made earlier in the year, you would know that my friend Kim, we're going to have him back on the show along with his brother Colin. Then the following week, we are going to have my my boys Rourke and Cal. And then the following week, we have Chris and CJ. Again, these are all kids from my school. I figured to give them a quick little shout out because when I come back from Lake George next week, we are going to be, or rather 2 weeks, we're going to start having guests back on Floodsters Sports, which is going to be awesome. What's up, Alex? Thanks for tuning on in. You know, we got to give a round of applause to Alex. He's currently at the Pirates-Mets game, and he just tuned in. Appreciate you stopping by as always, Alex. I'm actually going to wrap it up now because it's just past the hour mark, but appreciate you stopping by. I want the Mets to come back and win. That would be sick if they come back from 6-0 down to win. I don't think they will because, well, they're the Mets, but I can hope, right? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm Grant Fluff from Flusher Sports Zone, and I'll see you in 2 weeks for episode 18.